Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. This is Space Warfare, and in this series we are going to be fighting rival space agencies for control of, space. So let's get right to it. In the last episode we had a little bit of a prison break, but we were able to recapture them after disabling their vehicle. Now, after looking through the wreckage of the Ares, I've actually managed to find Luke's pod. So what we're going to be doing in the first part of this episode, as you can see we've just switched over to transport vehicle in space, is we're going to be getting Luke out of his pod and back down to KSC. But we're also going to be trying to capture those two Kerbals that were in the Titan that we destroyed. So if we just go over to the wreckage of the Titan now. So here we are just next to the Titan. Now if we get the Kerbals out of there and get them into the transport craft, I'm pretty sure there's a K-Tech engineer in there that should get us lots of useful information on... Oh, the pod's empty. I guess Hydrus must have come up and taken them down while we were busy with the tank battle and getting the prisoners. I guess we can't really get anything from it, so we'll have to go back to KSC and land. Well, get back down to Kerbin, and then we can get on with the next part of the episode. So here we are just coming down now the transport craft. Now the next part of this episode will be rebuilding our space force. So let's move to our space station that we'll be sending up. So here we are on the launch pad, and we have an absolutely huge rocket here. Now it's obviously not the usual kind of rocket, and that's because it's made out of parts from version 0.235, which we've just upgraded to. Now on top of the huge launch stage, we've got Epsilon Station, which I'm going to launch into a roughly 200-kilometer orbit and use it as a sort of refueling and rearming depot for our space forces that will send up, which will consist of, I think, 1 Aquila and 2 Ares craft. Now, because it will get a bit excessive of parts, we won't have all the ships docked to it, but they will be in close proximity with it. So, close enough that if the station gets attacked, they'll be able to attack the enemy Hydra ships, but not too close that any kind of combat will lag really badly. Anyway, we're now in our 200-kilometer orbit up here, and I've been for a little while now. And they've still got those boosters on. I think I'll keep them for extra fuel for a while. So now let's send up the Aquila. Now since the battle with the Titan, I have changed the design a little bit. So it's now the Aquila 2, and it has a longer range because of 2 extra fuel tanks, and it is equipped with Javelin 2 torpedoes, which should hopefully give a much larger damage output. So let's just go to the launch pad. So as we just launched the Aquila 2, now when I get this up, I'm going to try and get about 2 kilometers or just over away from the station, and then get the orbits as close as possible so that they don't drift too much. Okay, so here we are in orbit. Now I've just got the launch stage, well, part of it left, and you can see Epsilon Station just over there in the distance. So if we just go to the map view and set it as our target, you can see that our insects are at the same point, so that means we shouldn't be drifting at all away from it with consecutive orbits, which is good. So now let's send up our 2 Ares craft. Now since we last used them, I've actually changed the designs, and now they are the Ares 3, and the Ares 3 actually uses liquid fuel to give it a long range and has heavier armour to hopefully make it survive more attacks, and it also uses type 3 Seraph torpedoes, which use Separatrons to greatly increase the damage outputs. So here we are in orbit with the Ares 3s. Now we're in a very similar position to the Aquila 2, however we are a bit further away from the station, but we've got the insects lined up so we won't be drifting too far away, and are still close enough to engage any hostile targets that may try to destroy the station, as well as being close enough to refuel and rearm if we need to. Alright, so I guess that's it for our current forces that we're going to... Wait, what's that? A Hydrus moon base? That sounds interesting. I guess we've got to go and investigate that, see what they're doing over there. Okay, so I've got the Aquila 2, and I've already performed the burn to go over to the moon. Now all we have to do is enter the moon's sphere of influence, get an orbit, and then find or get some visuals on that base, and then find out what they're doing down there. And if possible, we might use the javelins to try and take it out from orbit. Hopefully they'll have a long enough range. So let's just skip till we've got an orbit. Okay, so here we are in orbit. Now we've got a nice low periaps if we do try and attack it with the javelins. So let's just get visuals now. Now this base seems to be primarily for refueling craft that have made it to all the way to the moon, and it's also defended by a light tank. Now because we don't have many fuel assets that far out, I think we'll try and capture this instead of destroying it. But that'll be in the next episode. For now, I'm 80,000 Armour. Thanks for watching.